Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generation's episode 265. And now that episode 265 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about from this episode, man. First and foremost, I love that this was a teamwork-centric episode, simply for the fact that, as we will see once Boruto Chapter 58 gets animated, Kawaki and teamwork don't necessarily go hand in hand together, and I like that we saw some of Kawaki's impatient side in this. Again, little small things, but this is all stuff that is headed towards Boruto Chapter 58 being adapted, so I like seeing that aspect there. And I'm adding this in post-recording because I've been made aware of the fact that a lot of people are saying, my god, they're ruining Kawaki's character by making all these exaggerated faces. Okay, it's Sukenboku humor, something that's been a staple of Naruto's franchise. Even somebody super serious as Sasuke has had to make those same exaggerated faces. I know a lot of you guys have watched the anime. I totally relax on this. Again, it's Sukenboku humor. What we're seeing in this episode, when they haven't been doing that, is they also laid the groundwork for Kawaki being hyper focused on one goal, even at the expense of other people around him, and showing a lack of respect for authority. In particular, if he knows that he is stronger than you, which if you read the manga and you know what happens in Boruto Chapter 66, you know that a certain character ends up dying as a result of this. The whole purpose of this arc, and the whole purpose what we saw in the Funato arc, was to lay the groundwork for the eventual shift that's happening with Kawaki. So now that we got my initial thoughts out of the way, and now that I've added in my post recording because of some of the outrage I've seen online, which I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw the big homie for Neverworld talking about it, because he saw some tweets and I did my own homework to see other people's responses. Now that we got that little nugget out of the way, let's jump into the recap portion of the review. I like how the episode opens up with us learning that all the academy students are going to be broken up into teams of 3, and Kawaki immediately gets annoyed once his team gets displayed, because you see once again that he's got a one-track mind, and you see the real conflict that is being set up here. Because one thing that we know about Kawaki is that when he's got his mind set on something, he doesn't necessarily care who he's going to affect, and you see that in this episode here. And the personality traits out of Kawaki that you're seeing here, that's something that's really going to come into play once we actually get to the manga events between Boruto Chapter 58 and Boruto Chapter 66, where we have a major death that takes place, and Kawaki is central towards that, and Kawaki's lack of respect for authority really begins to show itself, because he's regressing back into being the Kawaki who was raised by Kar, who views authority by power. If Kawaki believes he's stronger than you, then Kawaki believes that he shouldn't have to take any type of authority from you. Manga readers know exactly what I'm referring to here. Kawaki's not afraid of bucking the system and defying orders and throwing teamwork away in order to accomplish a certain goal that he has in mind. So I thought that this was a nice little bit of setup here. And so essentially what we end up seeing is that the academy students, now broken up into their teams of 3, have been taken to the forest outside of the academy, and they're going on different training exercises. And we further see little small things that showcase how the academy in the Boruto era is doing things different than what you saw in the Naruto era. So for instance, Naruto and Team 7 weren't taught stuff like the walking on water jutsu and the tree climbing jutsu until they became Ganin and began training underneath their Jonin sensei in the manga version of the story. And what I like on this is that we see stuff like the walking on the tree jutsu being implemented as a children's game to give the kids further incentive to master the tree climbing jutsu. It just shows you that we're in a different time period right now, and I think that's a nice reflection. And in the anime version of the story, when Naruto's training Kawaki, we learned that Boruto learned this jutsu in the academy and did it very easily. Kawaki has a few moments where the guy is just so dead set on protecting Kai that he's throwing the mission. That's a reoccurring theme that you're seeing over and over throughout the episode, is that Kawaki can do all this basic stuff like the chakra control drills, but the only thing that he cares about is his mission. He's dead set on that. He's dead set on protecting Kai regardless of the cost. And so you're seeing a little bit of that obsessive nature of Kawaki showing his head. Again, that will be something that makes more sense as we get later on in the story. So I thought it was kind of cool to see that bit right there. And you saw certain characters like Eke who are able to do the walking on the tree exercise very easily. Kai has some form of chakra control where she's doing it pretty easily, though we see Kawaki's impatient nature take over when he basically throws his team's assignment to try and help out Kai without actually realizing that Himawari is more than capable of actually assisting her. That's just a common theme that you're going to see throughout the episode. And that brings us to how Kawaki's sabotaging the classmates who are on his team, and that leads us to some really good Sukenbo humor moments. And there are actually quite a few moments that pay homage to original scenes that happen in Naruto Shippuden's anime that weren't in the manga. As you guys know, I prefer Naruto's manga over both anime, but even though I'm not as well versed on the anime version of those two stories, because again, I prefer the manga, which is damn near the case for every series I enjoy, because I enjoy manga over anime more. I've read over 200 manga. I've probably seen like 15 anime. I just don't care for anime as much as manga. There were still scenes that even somebody like me caught. So I thought that that was very nice right there. And just point blank period, I thought that the Sukenbo humor, it absolutely landed here. I think Soul is a very enjoyable character, and I hope that we see more of her interactions with Kawaki. And I like how every time Kawaki is breaking this expected social norm, in this case being part of the team, she's throwing this dude across the forest, she's throwing this dude through the air, she's knocking this dude crazy, she's making the different faces at him. I like seeing those little small tidbits right there, very good. And there are also smaller throwbacks to what you see in Naruto Part 1 as well, like when Kawaki jumps the gun when he sees the rabbit jump out the bushes, just like how Naruto did. I thought that that was funny. That was a nice little throwback. But I think whatever anime studio got their hands on this episode, when it comes to the expressions, I thought that they did a very good job on expressions. Part of what you look for in animation is exaggeration, and I think they did a very good job when it comes to everything exaggeration related. That was really a high point in this. You see it in the movements, you really see it in the expressions, but you see it at times in the movement. One critique I would say is that there were some times where I thought that there could have been some better squash and stretch and better bounce elements, but this was okay. Now, where things get interesting is that after they begin trying to cook curry and you see the teams beginning to bond even further, that's when Kai ends up going missing. And the reason why Kai goes missing is one of her classmates wanted to get her opinion on his sweets, because he's trying to bake sweets in order to carry on the family business, and he thinks becoming a shinobi is going to be able to help him as well, which goes back to one of the things that we've seen in the past, which is that not everybody who attends the academy becomes a ninja. So I did like that they kind of kept reinforcing that aspect there. Now, the next thing that we see is that when Kai goes missing, there's actually a flame bear that is out there, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. So essentially with the flame bear, it's shooting out these fire release attacks, and Himawari and Kai, they end up having to run away, and that's when the academy teacher comes in and she gets this very brilliant idea. This bear is shooting out fire release, therefore I am going to use wind release. Nigga! And she quickly learns, hey, wind release doesn't work on fire release. But hey, she gets an A for effort. I mean, that's the only chakra nature she's got. She's not a Jonin, so she doesn't know 2 changes in chakra nature, which that just makes you look at people in Boruto's generation that much crazier now, because wow, they're talented. Now, the reason why I like this is, again, it just showcases not everybody that's achieved certain ranks are particularly powerful. So that was nice to see that. And it just goes to show the difference in power when it comes to Team 7, because everybody on Team 7, with the exception of Kawaki, they can use multiple changes in chakra nature and they're pretty damn strong. And the way that Kawaki just easily takes care of this flame bear and showcases a level of power that this teacher was unable to do, I like that right there. That was nice to see that, even if it came at the expense of that teacher. But at the end of the day, she's supposed to be a jobber. You know, I know some of you guys think that she's going to be the one that is going to be behind the future kidnap of Kai. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I still think it's going to be the butler, but if she is this super skilled ninja, I will totally eat my words. So that being said, this episode was all right. It's not going to be one I'm going to go back and just watch or anything like that. As I said before, if Kodachi and Ikimoto didn't do that joint interview like 4 years ago, where they were talking alongside people that work on the anime, if they never said that the anime was going to be a parallel story that was going to flesh out things that they can't touch on in the manga, I wouldn't even bother watching stuff like this. But watching this episode does kind of make it more believable, some of the stuff that Kawaki does between chapters 58 and chapter 66, because you're seeing some of those personality traits begin to rear their head throughout the last couple of arcs, including this one right here. But this episode, I'm probably not going to come back and rewatch unless it's for video material. That being said, my episode question to you guys is, what were you guys' thoughts on Kawaki being willing to sabotage the development and growth of his teammates solely so he could focus on Kai? And then the second question I have for you guys is, what are your thoughts on this academy teacher? Does this episode kind of make you guys look at her, and if you did think she was going to be the villain, do you guys still think that, or did this put the death nail in the coffin for you? And while you think that over, click here to watch my newest Black Clover chapter review, and click here to watch this throwback video on the channel.